Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. There has been a ton of information over the last few days come out on the Datamines, so I thought we would have a look at them in this video. The other part of it as well is there is a little special going on for the HMCS Hider. You can basically pick it up and it is temporarily available for the update, and pretty much it's a 30% discount. Just as a quick review, since we've got a lot to go through today, the Hider is a very good vehicle for 4.3. It fits perfectly in a really nice 4.3 lineup for the British destroyers, and the other thing that's nice about it is it's rank 3, which means that you can bring up those rank 2 4.3s up to rank 3, making it possible to do all your dailies and specials without having to go at a higher BR. I have really enjoyed the Hider and all of the British destroyers around that area, especially all of the tribal class machines. Anyway, let's get into the Datamines, and as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe. So the first part of the Datamines I thought it would be worth looking at is part of the Battle Pass. Of course, we have had the decals, we've had the decorations, we've had all of these things, but one part of it that hasn't really been discussed is the Warbond shop. And at least we have a little bit of information about the Warbond shop. It looks like they are doing a Voodoo Pin Up for this one. And to be honest, it looks really cool. The interesting thing about the Warbond shop is they have actually made it so the good old zodiac signs have a collection together, and also it looks like they're doing a set of pinups. Obviously in this Warbond shop you have the Muerte, and then in the next one a voodoo one, so kind of a dark and mystical setup, which is really cool. But also remember that these will eventually probably become a collection too. So if you are a person who enjoys collections like I do and want to kind of collect them all, this would be something to focus on, so make sure to get that sorted. There is also another set of decals which is here, which are called the WTH decals. Now for me, I'm very much looking forward to see what this is about. It might be some kind of event, it might be something in the Warbond shop, it might be something different from what we've seen before. But to be honest with you, I have absolutely no idea what this is about. Maybe one of you guys will know from these decals. Basically, there is a World War II one, a 50s, 60s one, an 80s, 90s one, and also a modern era one. So they cover all of the different eras that are in War Thunder. The other part of it as well is they all seem to be birds, so I wonder if it's something to do with aviation or general decal design. My guess is either this is some kind of competitive thing where it's some kind of ranked setup where you dominate that era, therefore you get the decal, or it's going to be something which is like War Thunder history, where you grind out a bunch of historical stuff and you will get access to this decal and also other things. Maybe similar to the pages of history, or maybe it is just in the Warbond shop and that's it. My hope, at least for an event like this, would be targeted at specific vehicles that you kind of grind out over time from those time periods, and then you get the decals afterwards. Maybe if you play a certain amount of them, like, I don't know, maybe if you spade 40 of them from those eras, you get access to this decal. So giving you an idea and a reason to kind of go for a bit of variance in the game, instead of just play the same stuff over and over again, which is one of the kind of cardinal sins of War Thunder and creates issues within the player base. So that, at least in general, is the way that I see these things. There's also other areas it could be, of course, like these types of things could easily be something like, as I said, a competitive thing where the idea is you kind of play the game, and then from these eras you can play specific vehicles, and if you do really well you get the decals themselves. Could be a World War mode thing, since we did see World War modes from the Second World War, but also more modern ones, with of course the Fulda Gap fight, which everybody always goes on about. They could be here for many different reasons, and I'm hoping that it's something interesting, but maybe it's just something in the Battle Pass, and along with the Warbond shop. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts. You remember how in the leaks there was a secret Russian premium, or a Soviet premium, and we thought it was going to be an object? Well, guess what? It is. It's the Object 140. They've also added that as a pre-order, and also the top secret title along with it, which is actually a really cool title. The other part is there was a decal which was added, which is the Blacksmith of Victory decal, and this one is also pretty cool. I don't know if it's to do with the Object 140, or if it's to do with something else. So, what is the Object 140, since we didn't cover it on the weekend? Instead, to be honest, I feel like we covered some more interesting vehicles. The 140 is a prototype medium tank. The idea was to replace the T-54, which was in service. The 140 was around in the late 50s, and eventually it was cancelled because of the fact that they decided to go for the 430 project, which was what led into the T-64 design. So instead, the Object 140 was more of kind of a stopgap, I suppose, instead of what they wanted, which was a complete evolution of the MBT design. The vehicle itself has a 100mm gun, very similar to the T-55, and then also it had 240mm of armor on the front of it, which will make it pretty tanky. It also had a 580 horsepower engine, which gave it about 16 horsepower per ton, so it will move around the place as well. And yeah, it's just a general evolution of the T-54 idea into, of course, the standard T-55 and T-62 setup. This one I would definitely see as kind of a prototype to what eventually became the T-55. The 140 is kind of interesting though. It does have a stabilizer for the 100mm, so obviously that's quite nice for it. And also at the same time it can carry a ton of rounds if you want to. The biggest problem with the 140 is the same thing that kind of plagues a lot of these types of vehicles, which is it was just quite hard to manufacture at the time, and also there was only a few areas that actually could. This basically meant that even if the vehicle had been chosen and accepted kind of into service, the big problem you have is you need to actually get the production lines up to snuff to be able to do it, and they just weren't there. They tried a bunch of different things to actually make it kind of compatible with the standard modern designs, but unfortunately none of them worked, and instead the project itself was cancelled. So basically it just got done in. The vehicle itself was super complicated and had a lot of issues with its design and also build, but the great thing is, in War Thunder, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's basically just going to be a standard Soviet vehicle. The interesting thing is, since it's a prototype, will they give it the top-mounted machine gun, since half and half, it seems like they do that. And also, it's kind of weird to see this as a pre-order vehicle. This is kind of a middling vehicle that wouldn't really do too much on the kind of scale. It is a fantastically interesting vehicle, and is another, object added to the game, which is quite nice, but it's not something that would stand out from the crowd compared to a lot of the other vehicles that they've added. They've also added another premium, which I suppose is kind of similar to this, the TO-55, which is the flamethrower one. So they're really focusing on that area for the Soviets, which just seems kind of odd since it's already very built with the T-55, with the T-54, and so on. I thought it's kind of surprising that we don't have the T-54 with the stabilizer for the Soviets. Instead, we're in a place where they still only have the standard T-54s, and I suppose maybe the idea of this is to give Soviet players a T-54 experience, but with a stabilizer. But you can just play the T-55 that's there, I suppose. It just seems like an odd pick. I wonder why they've decided to go for this one instead of others. Maybe one of you guys has an idea, but for me, there are much more interesting objects that are around. Anyway, that's the Datamines from the last few days. There was a few other things, such as, changing of texts for modifications, but nothing too crazy in that setup. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecovo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.